I love talking to smart people because I know I'm dumb. Wisconsin Congressman Scott Fitzgerald is one of those very smart people. So there you go. Thanks for joining us, Congressman. Much appreciated. Last Tuesday, I coached for a long time and been involved in college athletics a long time. And my son's coaching college basketball. I got to ask you, last Tuesday, congressional hearing, Josh Whitman of Illinois, others, it was titled Moving the Goalposts, How NIL is Reshaping College Athletics. Let me ask you a question. One, should Congress be involved in this? And two, what can Congress do to help?
I think we were prompted, obviously, by the lawsuit, House versus the NCAA. And it drew kind of a line between what's involved right now with NIL and, there's some linkage to antitrust statute. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of members of Congress right now that kind of are watching this from afar and, hoping that we don't have to get directly involved and aren't super prescriptive in what we want something to look like. But at the same time, no, I think you can make the case where we're at right now with wide open kind of discussions and just trying to wrap our arms around what's going on kind of nationwide is appropriate and probably something that we'll continue to pursue.
One of the things, NIL is obviously not become NIL, name, image, and likeness is, certainly it's pay for play, right? And the thing that I'm curious about in these hearings, do you all talk about it? And this isn't NIL, but it's a result of NIL, open free agency in college athletics. I've said forever, I don't care what kids make. That's great, whatever. But at some point, you got to protect the school, and at some point, you got to protect the industry. And by allowing open free agency, Aaron Rodgers is playing with the Packers, has a great year. Next thing you know, Aaron Rodgers every year can say, I'm a free agent, and go to any other place to play. Is that being addressed in these meetings, hearings?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's just a wide range of issues that have emerged as a result of the lawsuit and just the way NIL has developed. If you go back, and I think this is surprising to some people, that, if you go back 3-4 years ago, there were already deals being cut on the NIL front. And so if you fast forward to where we're at today, it's accelerating and absolutely, I think, is drawing more attention to the idea that, if there isn't some type of guardrails on this, I think it could be detrimental to collegiate sports and to what, almost all Americans love, which is the entertainment of collegiate sports, and yet still having kind of an understanding that it's somewhat at the amateur level. And it will continue to be, because a lot of the discussions is about the non-revenue sports, obviously, and what happens to them moving forward.
Yeah, my wife was a long time. She's actually a legend in the world of softball at Syracuse, Bowling Green, and was a All-American at Toledo. And can you help somebody understand how a sport like softball can survive in this world, even now when we're going to go revenue sharing? How can it be helped to baseball, softball? How can they survive?
Well, if you remember, and I know you do, the shuffling that went on when Title IX was put in place, where there were teams that were fully eliminated and then replaced with some other alternative that kind of balanced things for Title IX. I think we're kind of moving in the same direction. I'm hopeful that we can come up with a balance that protects the non-revenue sports and we're able to see them continue, which by the way is a feeder into our Olympic teams, which I think is something that's also been lost. A point of discussion, but really not as widespread as I think those of us that have been involved in the issue now since this Congress started realized. So there's a lot of different angles on this, and I think that's where we're at right now. We're trying to explore it. We've had the roundtables. We're going to continue to do listening session roundtables to just get input from athletes, coaches. The conferences the four majors are pretty well aligned right now in the way they see things, and the NCAA is getting sued every time they turn on anything that is related to where they're at as far as the lawsuit goes. So there's a lot of issues, and we're trying to wrap our arms around them right now, I think is what we're doing.
People always use this term, coaches use this term, guardrails. You use that term. I want to go back to it. Based on your discussions, what are some of the type of solutions, type of guardrails that are being discussed at roundtables or in meetings? What are there any specific guardrails being discussed?
Yeah, I think the one thing that everyone seems to be pretty much on board with is the idea that you're going to have the biggies, which is going to be the four big conferences, and football is driving the revenue streams, but yet some of the colleges, I think, and the conferences are saying there has to be other things addressed on down the line to maintain the idea that there still is a student athlete. So if we can get to a point where those are still all in a good spot, then I think that you would see maybe the lawsuits subside, and you would see things come back together. But that's a heavy lift right now. I mean, when we have these open discussions about where we're at, you're always going to have many different opinions, and trying to build consensus on those issues. I mean, it's going to be a heavy lift, and there's a lot of work to do on that front.
One of the things people always say is, well, coaches can leave. Sure, coaches can leave. They have contracts, but they also pay big-time buyouts. Is there discussion about student athletes signing contracts that include buyouts to keep them out of school for a year? Is there discussion about unionization?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, this will be interesting today, I think, because that issue specifically, whether it's framed as "quote unquote" a student association or a flat out unionization of players, is something that is the one issue that maybe Democrats and Republicans see a little bit different. No one's really dug in on it, or really, I think, going to be a holdout on supporting some type of bill down the road. It's just that is one thing that needs to be addressed. And, the NCAA has their opinion. The big conferences have their opinion about what that would look like. And as we know, some of the universities right now are starting to gear up by actually putting in place an individual that is considered the general manager that oversees all of the NIL negotiations. So it's starting to look and feel more like something you might see in a contract negotiation, and I don't expect that will subside. I think that'll continue kind of in the future as these things develop.
What's your response to every Democratic senator, every single one, voting against the Protection of Women in Sports Act? Every one.
Yeah, that's an issue that I consider kind of a sidebar to the negotiations that are going on with NIL. I think it's something that ultimately will kind of run its course, and I hope we end up in the right spot on it. Everything that we've seen so far that we've been able to support, and I mean the Republicans, I think is common sense stuff, and I think we have the public on our side on that issue.
Yeah, like 79, 80% of the public is on your side. And I don't, look, again, my stepdaughter plays softball at Harvard. My wife is like, I don't understand how you can allow it. How does a guy get elected? I'm looking you up. You went to Penn State. How does a guy get elected in Wisconsin that went to Penn State? And how did the football playoff go for you?
I didn't go. Did you think I went to Penn State?
That's what they told me. They said they said you went to Penn State.
No, I didn't go to Penn State. You might have Brian Fitzpatrick, my other colleague. He went to Penn State, I believe. Yeah.
I got morons that work for me, Scott. I got morons that work for me. Everybody's fired.
Fitzpatrick. It's very close. Yeah. No, that's all right.
Everybody's fired. Everybody. They're all fired. Hey, I got to tell your basketball team, though, Coach Guard has gone away from slow. They play fast, Scott. They're pretty damn good, man. They're fun to watch.
Yeah, I was at the game last weekend, and it was a kind of a letdown. But we feel like we're in a good spot where we're limping into the Big Ten Conference Championship, hopefully.
How do you respond when one of your workers says, my bad, texts you, my bad? How do when he do you just immediately fire him? Do you have empathy for him? Do you take him out back? Do I'm reading the Bible. I'm reading the Old Testament right now. Do we stone him? What's my move here?
That probably should be the last text he sends you. Yeah, I think that would be a good way of handling that.
Hey, I appreciate you for coming. It's interesting, though. I want to go back to one last thing. It is interesting because NIL was supposed to be, you're at Wisconsin, you're Frank Kaminsky, you're playing great. People say, I want to use you to make money. But it's become pay for play, and I guess I know you've answered. I don't know if I've asked it this way. Is it ever going back in the tube? Meaning, are schools going to have control? I was talking to a very famous college coach yesterday that says, look around. Nobody ever talks about academics. Nobody ever talks about graduation rates anymore. All they talk about is money and transfer. Is it ever going to, can you see based on your hearings, it ever kind of coming together where we have both?
I mean, it's evolved, right? And we've watched it, and I'm 61 years old, so I think, you and I kind of watched collegiate sports in its heyday, and it's changing rapidly, and I think we're just trying to react to that and hopefully, not to be cliche, but to put things back on the track. It's something that Americans just have such a love for, that you can't find anybody that doesn't have some type of opinion on this issue, which is interesting when you're in the business I'm in. It's something that I think we're going to have to continue to work on moving forward.
Hey, last thing. You think Trump's doing what he said? Is Trump fulfilling the promises that he made in the campaign trail?
He is, and he's rocking the boat like he said he was going to do. And when I'm back in the district, I'm getting an earful from constituents, some very much in favor of what he's doing, and others that not so happy, right? So that's the way it works, though.
That's when you're doing a good job, I suppose. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to make. Hey, thank you, Congressman. I appreciate you, and I apologize. I'm the guy that said it, so I'm the idiot for saying it. I'm not Ron Burgundy. I'm supposed to be better than that. Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Good to be with you. Thanks.